What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Gage, and today I am excited to talk to you about my Flapple V-Max deck profile. This Pokemon is slept on. It is adorable, but very, very strong and consistent, and I'm here to talk about why I think that this strategy is actually really good. And before I hop into it, I do want to say that I appreciate all the support I've been getting lately. I recently hit over 200 subscribers, which means that people are actually watching and enjoying the content. So thank you so much. If you're a fan of this type of content, please remember to like and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Without further ado, it's time to talk about Flapple. So, this is the chunky boy himself, Flapple V-Max. Very, very powerful card. It has 320 HP. It's a grass-type Pokemon and has the G-Max rolling attack, which for 1 grass energy and 2 colorless is able to do the G-Max rolling attack for 250 damage. That is just an insane amount of damage. That is able to one-hit knock out every V in the game that isn't buffed by something else, right? The only downside is its effect, where the attack does 10 damage less for each damage counter on this Pokemon. So essentially, if it takes damage, the attack will be less because of it. If I take 10 damage, it will do 10 less damage. If I take 50 damage, it does 50 less damage. So yeah, that does kind of suck, right? However, that is pretty much mitigated by the fact that we are able to play healing cards, which catch a lot of people off guard. They'll see Flapple VMAX and, they'll think that they can play around it by just simply attacking into it, but they have to take into consideration that we are actually able to get rid of that damage, and we're actually able to hit for that 250 pretty consistently. So I'll show you some of the other cards that I'm helping to support this as well, including Rillaboom, to help get energy onto him faster, because yes, 3 energy is kind of a lot, but honestly, because we are playing Rillaboom, that is not much of a problem either. The dream setup is being able to get him 1 or 2 of the Flapple VMAX set up, maybe getting a Rillaboom in play, and then if we need to, going and healing off. So Flapple VMAX, very adorable, and honestly really slept on. Now to talk about the V, who is no slouch himself. So Flapple V has 190 HP, and for 1 grass energy has the Sour Spit attack, which only does 20 damage, which really isn't that great, but during your opponent's next turn, the defending Pokemon's attacks cost 2 colorless more. So a lot of people might not actually see this coming. They can get 1, maybe 2 energies on during a turn, but if they have an attack that costs more than that, they may not actually be able to get that attack off in time. So that's the thing. Flapple V can actually stall to a certain degree, and people have to respect that. So yes, it doesn't do that much attack, but if it is necessary to attack with it, it at least is able to help stall out, and it puts your opponent in a very specific predicament where they either have to consider swapping out the Pokemon that's in the active or trying to commit even more resources to get energy onto it in the first place, just so that it can begin to attack your Flapple for damage. So I actually really like that. It does have the wing attack, which for 1 grass and 2 colorless can do 120 damage, but honestly, by the time you get 3 energies onto it, you're probably just going to want to evolve it into the VMAX. So yeah, 4 copies of Flapple V, very good card. And now for some supporter Vs. I am playing a Kricketune V and an Eldegoss V. The Krickatune's exciting stage ability, which when it's in the active allows you to draw until you have 4 cards, and when it's in the bench allows you to draw until you have 3. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty good, especially for a deck that kind of needs the consistency. It needs a lot of things to go right and a lot of combinations of cards that need to be in your hand. So having a little bit of extra grass-type draw support is actually pretty good for the deck. And then Eldegoss having the Happy Match ability, letting you add a supporter card from the discard pile back to your hand. So it lets you reuse some of the powerful supporters that we're playing. And yeah, it's a grass-type Pokemon, so it's easily searchable off of Turffield Stadium, and that's why we are playing 1 of each. I'm also playing the Dedenne GX, which, of course, after rotation will become a Crobat. Honestly, I do still just prefer the one Dedenne, being able to discard your hand and draw 6. We're playing a lot of multiples of cards that we don't really care to lose if we have to discard our hand. So sometimes we really do just need a fresh pair of 6 cards in our hand, and Dedenne is still really good at doing that. It will be missed in the future. Crobat is still really good, of course, but nothing like just being able to slap him down and get a fresh 6 cards no matter what. All right, and like I alluded to, we are playing the 3 Groupie, the 1 copy of Thwackey, and then the 2 copies of Rillaboom. So I'm playing this line just because I want to be able to see the Groupie's, but I don't necessarily want to brick on too many of them. We do have ways of being able to search them out rather easily, so it's not the end of the world if we draw into 1 or 2 of them, but I don't want to draw 4. It just feels a little too clunky. We are playing rare candies because, of course, we want to cheat out our Rillabooms as much as possible. However, we're not always going to see the Groupie with the rare candy with the Rillaboom. So because these cards are, the Thwackey is easily searchable with Level Ball, I opted to at least play 1 copy just in case I didn't draw into the rare candies, so that I can hard evolve it into the Rillaboom, who is the real star of the show here, has the Voltage Beat ability, which once during your turn lets you search your deck for up to 2 grass energies and attach them onto one of your Pokemon. If that sounds crazy, it's because it is. You can hard attach 1 energy onto your Flapple Vmax, then use his ability, attach 2 more, and now you have the ability to attack for 250 damage with your VMAX. And guess what? If you have 2 set up, it is a once per turn for each copy. So you can attach 2 energies with 1 and then attach 2 energies from the deck with another. It is a deadly combination, and if you get this onto the field, you are going to be generating way too much advantage for your opponent to keep up with. And that's why I really like playing this engine, and it's really what allows the deck to function. All right, and that's it for the Pokemon. Now to talk about the supporters. Of course, I'm playing 4 copies of Marnie, got to represent on the mat. Marnie's great. This format, it's not only really great for shuffling back hands where you may not have the most ideal combination of cards, so you can play all of the cards that you need, then shuffle back the cards that you don't. But it's also really important to still have that disruption, right? Like you still being able to force your opponent to shuffle, to put their hand back into the deck and then draw the top 4. I mean, that's really good because they may have had a hand that was 7, 8, 9, 10 cards. There are so many really good draw Pokemon, draw supporters, that it can get out of hand, and your opponent can have access to too many resources, and you really don't want your opponent to just kind of have a Swiss Army knife at their disposal at all times. So Marnie is going to be a staple in pretty much every deck moving forward, so it's especially good in this deck where maybe you have the V, but you need the V-Max, or maybe you have the V-Max, but you need the V, so, you know, being able to put that back in the deck and drawing into a fresh set of cards can sometimes unbrick you. So, yep, 4 copies of Marnie, very necessary. I'm only playing 3 copies of Professor's Research. We're playing a lot of evolution Pokemon that we don't necessarily want to discard. It's still a very powerful draw supporter, don't get me wrong, but I don't necessarily want to discard too many of my cards. I'd much rather prefer to see a Marnie in my hand. 2 copies of Boss's Orders. Our opponent is going to realize just how powerful our combo is, and they may not see it coming, so they're going to want to retreat to the bench, and you don't want them to be able to hide in the bench. Forcing them to come out into the active so that you can take those one-hit knockouts is going to be pretty much the way that you win your games. Your opponent is going to want to hide in the bench, so you want to at least have some copies at your disposal. Like I mentioned, since we're playing the Eldegoss, even if we have to discard 1 or 2 early on, it's not the end of the world because we could just add it back with the Eldegoss V, and then we'll pretty much be golden. So 2 copies has been just fine for me. And then I am playing one of the stars of the deck, Cheryl. This is what allows you to heal all damage from each of your evolution Pokemon, and if you do, discard all energy from the Pokemon that were healed this way. So guys, this is what is going to allow us to grind. I'm not going to say that you're going to get insta wins. However, if you are able to establish your VMAX and you're able to continuously heal off with no issues, then there's no way your opponent is going to be able to one-shot you. They would have to be committing an insane amount of resources just to take out a single VMAX, and that is just not always going to happen, right? So being able to heal all the damage, the fact that you have to discard all the energy means nothing, right? Because all you need is one energy in your hand, one Rillaboom set up, and you are good to go. There are a lot of times where, I'll have the VMAX set up, and then I'll attack with it. It'll take some damage. The following turn, I use Cheryl, attach an energy from my hand, and then use Rillaboom to attach 2 more, and then swing for another 250. So honestly, Cheryl is pretty bonkers, and the fact that it's able to heal all of your evolution Pokemon is really insane too. We're also playing energy recyclers, so it's not the end of the world if we end up losing out on too many of them, because we can always shuffle them back into the deck. So Cheryl, the MVP for sure. And now for the item cards, I'm playing 4 copies of Pokemon Communication. This is going to be missed post-rotation as well, but essentially letting you swap a Pokemon in your hand with one from the deck. So you're playing a lot of evolutions. You're going to draw into the Rillabooms when you need the Grookeys. You're going to draw into the VMAXs when you need the Vs. So Pokemon Communication is great for being able to make that exchange. Yeah, it's going to be very missed for this deck when post-rotation hits. I'm also playing 4 copies of Quick Ball. It's it's the best searcher. I mean, you're able to search for a basic Pokemon. So if you need to get a fresh set of cards, you can grab the Dedenne. If you need to grab your V, Grookey, all of it. So of course, I recommend playing the 4 copies. And like I mentioned earlier, we are playing the rare candies. Now, being able to cheat out the Rillaboom is what makes this deck really broken. So we want to have as many rare candies as possible. 4 is a little too bricky. You really just want to find a sweet spot with all the cards in the deck. I will say it is hard to really run the ratios with this because you want to see the correct combination of cards. But after so many test hands and after so many games, I've settled with 3. So I do recommend the 3, but feel free to experiment with the ratios if you're interested in playing this yourself. 3 copies of Switch. We've got a lot of big booties that, cost a lot of retreat costs. So we don't necessarily always want to pay that retreat cost. So being able to switch into the bench for free is nice. It's not the end of the world if we do have to retreat because, if we do have to get 3 energies into the discard pile, we can always get it back with the next card. Like I mentioned earlier, 2 copies of Energy Recycler, shuffling up to 5 basic energy cards from the discard pile back into your deck. In a deck like this, that is broken. It means that we essentially have infinite energy, and that's why I love playing this strategy. It is really grindy and honestly pretty scary for your opponent. It puts your opponent in a position where even if they, do manage to get a lot of damage on you, it doesn't really matter because you could just retreat into the bench, heal off with your Cheryl, shuffle back all the energies, and then attach them again with the Rillaboom. So, Energy Recycler is pretty clutch. We're also playing 2 Turffield Stadium. Really, it's a good card. Once during your turn, that player may search their deck for an evolution grass Pokemon and put it in their hand. It's really good. We are playing a lot of searchers ourselves. I'll just say that I really want to play Stadium just to counter other people's annoying stadiums. That's really the reason why. We don't necessarily want our opponent to be gaining advantage off of their own stadium. So as far as grass decks goes, this is probably the best one to play. So yeah, 2 copies. It's pretty good. And then, of course, we're playing the 2 Evolution Incense, just in case we need to search for those Rillabooms, search for the VMAXs. Having 2 extra copies of each of them is pretty nice. And then, of course, we are playing the 12 Grass Energy. You really don't need any more than that, considering you're able to just shuffle it back with the with the energy recycler. And yeah, it's that's the deck, guys. That it's pretty broken when it gets going. You know, you're not going to get the dream combo every single time, but that's what's really fun about Pokemon, is that if you are able to get the correct combination of cards, you are able to make some pretty great things happen. And yeah, people say that Flapple VMAX is considered to be the worst VMAX in the game, and I just don't agree. The fact that it has the healing to go along with it, with the Rillaboom, makes it rather consistent, and I gotta love that about it. So, guys, that's going to be it for the profile. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe. I really appreciate it. And until next time, GG.